Many Social Security beneficiaries are losing benefits because they received COVID-19 stimulus checks. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening and how to fix it. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that if you are on Social Security disability benefits, there are letters that are going out from the Social Security Administration letting you know that your benefit may be paused or a portion of it is going to be taken away because you received COVID-19 benefits. So I am going to explain what's happening, and then I'm going to talk about how Congress is trying to fix the issue, but it may take a while to get there. And then finally, if you've received one of these overpayment letters, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to fix the issue. So if you are new to this channel, I want to urge you to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, because all we are about at Social Security Edge is to bring you the latest news and updates. Anything in and out of Congress that may affect your benefits, we're going to bring it to you. So let's get right into it. So what is causing people to lose their Social Security benefits because of the COVID benefits that they received? Well, here's the thing. When the COVID stimulus checks were sent out, a lot of people on Social Security disability benefits believed that it would not impact the amount of benefits they received. Why is that important? Well, if you're receiving Social Security disability benefits, any extra income that you make, you're supposed to report that income, and then your Social Security disability benefits are adjusted because of the extra income that you're getting, especially when you're on SSI benefits. If you're on Ticket to Work or any other work program, or you have assets that are over $2,000 if you're an individual, or $3,000 if you're a couple, you're supposed to report those increases so that your benefits will be adjusted accordingly. So here's what happened. Remember, there were 3 COVID-19 stimulus packages that were sent out. The first one was sent on March 27th, right after COVID started. It was for $1,200 per person and $2,400 if you're a married couple. Now, Social Security beneficiaries were supposed to get a stimulus check with no strings attached. The extra income were not supposed to compromise their benefits, but that's what happened. The next stimulus check, which happened in December 2020, was $600 per individual and $1,200 per married couple. And then the third stimulus package came in March of 2021, exactly about a year after the first stimulus package was sent, and that was for $1,400 per person and $2,800 per individual. So what happened? Well, Social Security SSI beneficiaries were told by the government or by Congress that they were, 1, eligible for the stimulus payments, and 2, that their eligibility was not going to cause overpayments for them. Because as I explained, if you have more assets, you need to report it, and it's supposed to reduce your benefits. Well, beneficiaries were assured that receiving stimulus benefits was not going to affect their Social Security and disability benefits. Well, that is not what happened. So Congress is also trying to find out why people are receiving suspension letters for overpayments. So, SSI beneficiaries, the reason why SSI beneficiaries are largely receiving these letters from the Social Security Administration is that if you are getting benefits, then there's a strict asset requirement. An individual is supposed to only keep $2,000 in assets or $3,000 as a married couple. But the stimulus checks complicated this issue because it tripped people up over these asset limits. And so when the Social Security Administration realized that there's a large amount of SSI beneficiaries that received stimulus checks and as a result had more assets that they were allowed to have while receiving the maximum benefits, they started receiving these letters that they owed thousands and thousands of dollars in overpayments from the time they got those stimulus checks. So what does that look like? Well, it caused people's SSI benefits to be suspended. And for some, it takes a long time to be able to get your benefits back or get Social Security to reverse the decision. Some people's Medicaid benefits were also affected. And so Congress is trying to step in to find out why this is happening. Now, there is a bipartisan effort in Congress to raise the asset limit for SSI benefits because it's been at $2,000 for a very long time. And that is a very low asset limit because it puts SSI beneficiaries in such a constant state of poverty because they cannot have more than $2,000 in assets in their bank accounts before they trip up those asset limits and risk losing their benefits. And there are a lot of advocacy organizations that are also trying to deal with this issue and trying to drum up support at the local level to be able to push Congress to do something about this. So if you received SSI overpayments, the best thing you can do is to file an appeal and try to get the Social Security Administration to take a second look at what's happening, because people are receiving letters. We did a video on this recently where people are receiving letters where they are told to, they owe $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in SSI overpayments, and they don't have the money just sitting around to be able to pay this large amount of overpayments. So it's costing a lot of people to lose their benefits, and or a huge chunk of their benefits being taken out as payments for these overpayments until it is all paid off. And for some, it's going to take probably 20 years before they're going to be able to pay all those overpayments. And in the meantime, their checks are being deducted for something that they did not know they were going to owe, and now they have to pay. So the Social Security Administration is responding, and what they are saying is that, stimulus checks were part of, the asset limit, but that was not Congress. That was not what Congress told people who were receiving Social Security benefits. So this is becoming the issue, is that one thing was communicated by Congress, but then the Social Security Administration is responding in a different way because they are classifying these stimulus payments as part of the asset limit. So Congress now wants answers, because obviously when Congress passed these stimulus checks, they told everybody that it's not going to complicate people receiving SSI benefits. If you get stimulus checks, you're not going to lose your benefit, or your benefits are not going to be reduced. And now people are getting these letters in the mail from the Social Security Administration. So there was a report by the Kaiser Family Foundation which looked at Social Security overpayments, and they realized that there are $21.6 billion in Social Security overpayments that the Social Security Administration is trying to recover. Well, many of these overpayment letters are targeted at poor, elderly, and disabled recipients. So Senator Brown and Mike Carey from the House are calling for congressional hearings to look at why the Social Security Administration is targeting people who are vulnerable, elderly, poor people, disabled people, to pay amounts that, there was no way they're going to be able to pay it or have that kind of money sitting around to be able to pay $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000, even $60,000 in overpayments that they were supposed to have accrued over a long period of time. So, as I mentioned, the Kaiser Family Foundation Health News and Cox Media Group did an investigative reporting and found out that the problem of overpayment runs very deep. So here's what they found. They found that the Social Security Administration has sent out 1 million overpayments to beneficiaries. And the Social Security Acting Commissioner says that in 2022, 1 million people received overpayment notices. 1 million. And in 2023 so far, as of October, 986,912 people received overpayment letters. That is a lot of people on Social Security disability that are getting overpayment letters. That's a huge percentage of disability beneficiaries, if you think about it. So now Congress wants to know why. Now, the SSA, the Social Security Administration, is saying that they're going to review their practices of how they handle overpayments. Well, that is because Congress stepped in and is making a lot of noise about why this is happening in the first place. And they estimated that in 2021, there were about 1.4 billion in overpayments. And they have 21.6 billion in uncollected overpayments. So what does this all mean? If you've received one of these, what does this mean? Well, it means that you owe money that you have to figure out a way to pay, because the money is still owed. The Social Security Administration is not going to back off from collecting the money. The question is, how aggressive are they going to be, and what tools do you have, what options do you have available to you to be able to deal with this overpayment issue? So here's what I am going to then share with you, the options that you have to deal with Social Security overpayments. If you received a letter from the Social Security Administration and you owe overpayments, here is how you can deal with it. So there are 3 ways available to you to deal with your overpayment issue. Number 1, you can pay the amount owed. Number 2, you can appeal within 60 days. And then number 3, you can request a waiver. So I'm going to go through each of these steps and walk you through what you need to do. So let's start with paying what you owe. If you agree with the Social Security Administration that you owe money and you have the money to pay, then the easiest way to do it is to pay the money back. And to do that, you can pay directly through the Social Security Administration website, and you have 30 days to do that, because after 30 days, collection activity will begin, which means that the Social Security Administration will start taking a portion of your SSI benefits or taking even all of it to address the overpayment issue. So, how do you pay? Well, you can go to pay.gov and make a payment in full online within 30 days. Or you can call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213 and pay and make arrangements over the phone to pay your overpayment. Now, remember, you are responsible for paying this within 30 days or collection activities will begin. What is important to emphasize here is that collection activity will begin if you don't do anything about the letter. So do not ignore the letter. You have to take some form of action. And the first action, as I mentioned, is to pay it back in full. Now, if you don't have the money sitting around to pay this, then there are 2 other ways by which you can deal with a Social Security overpayment. The first one is to file an appeal. You can do so on the Social Security website. There is a section under appeal where if it's a non-medical appeal, then you can file it directly on the website. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete the entire process. And then the third way to do, or the third option available to you to deal with the Social Security overpayment, is to request a waiver. What is a waiver? A waiver is essentially sending a letter to the Social Security Administration saying that you cannot afford to pay the overpayment, or them, having a portion of your Social Security benefits taken every month, or even all of it taken, is going to put you in such a financial stress and a financial setback that you cannot afford to pay it. So you're asking them to forgive the debt, to forgive the overpayment, because it's going to cause you extreme financial difficulty. So when you're filing a waiver, you may have to submit your income and expenses so that the Social Security Administration can really understand your current financial situation and then review your waiver application to see if they want to grant it. Now let's get into more detail. So it is always a good idea to file an appeal if you received an overpayment letter. Here's why. The first thing is that the Social Security Administration makes mistakes. They may have calculated how much you owe incorrectly, and so you want to file an appeal to buy yourself some time to be able to review everything and make sure that they got everything right and that you indeed owe the money that you owe, and that the period by which they are saying your overpayment started is also accurate. And that may require a little bit of research, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So, you are given 60 days to file an appeal. However, remember that I told you that the collection activity starts within 30 days. So do not wait until 60 days to file an appeal, because the Social Security Administration, after 30 days, if they've not heard from you, they're going to start collection activity. They're going to take a portion of your benefits or even all of it to start dealing with the overpayment. So it is best to file your appeal as soon as you get the letter and file it within 30 days. When you file it within 30 days and they receive your appeal within 30 days, by law, they cannot begin collection activities until they've ruled on your appeal. So, how and what do you need to file your appeal? Well, the first thing is you have to understand why the appeal situation, the overpayment situation happened. And the best way to gather that information is to call the Social Security Administration or visit your local office and find out what specifically happened, what tripped up your asset limit to cause them to determine that you owe overpayment. And then once you gather that information, you have to then fill out the request for reconsideration form, which is form 561, and then present your evidence. Sometimes you may even have to go through the Social Security Program Manual to find out specific rules that favor your case so that you can make a very cohesive and you can make sure that you've presented all the facts in your favor that will help them make a decision about your appeal. So what happens next? Once you file the appeal, the Social Security Administration is going to take 4 weeks at least to respond. The key is that they have to receive your appeal within 30 days. Once they receive it and you have, if you mail it in or you get confirmation online that they've received it within 30 days, then you just have to wait. They have at least 4 weeks to make a decision, and there are 3 different decisions that may come back. Number 1, they could agree with you and say, yes, indeed, they made a mistake and that you do not owe the money. Number 2, they may request additional information from you because the information you provided may not be complete. So the Social Security Administration will send you a letter requesting additional information, and they will tell you specifically what they are looking for in order to be able to make a decision about your appeal. And then number 3, they may disagree with you and say you still owe the money based on the information that they have. You still owe the money. So if your appeal is denied and you still disagree, then there is another step you can take, which I'll talk about in a second. So the third way you can deal with a Social Security waiver overpayment is to request a waiver. Now, a waiver is saying that you disagree with what is happening, you don't think it's your fault, and you have to prove why you don't think it's your fault. So you have to provide evidence. Or you can demonstrate hardship to show that repaying the debt will cause you financial hardship. And as I said before, this may require you to have to provide a record of your income and expenses so that they can make a determination on your waiver. Now, if your waiver and appeal are both denied, now you remember, you can file an appeal. If it's denied, you can request a waiver. And if that's also denied, then you can request a hearing before a judge. And in this case, you probably need an attorney who handles these kinds of overpayment hearings so that you can make sure that you've crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, and that you've presented a strong case and that you're not walking into any issues as you prepare to go before the judge, because going before a judge is a very serious thing. So you want to make sure you have an experienced attorney who handles these specific kinds of cases and hopefully has won a few of them, who can, prepare a good case based on what information you are presenting so that you can avoid pitfalls and increase your odds of successful appeal when you go before the judge. So the Social Security Administration is saying that they are trying to work with people who are in overpayment situations to make sure that it's not a big burden on you. They're saying that people who are on overpayments, include a repayment plan as low as $10 per month, and that they are being very flexible in this. Whether that is the case or not, that is what they are saying. So that is also something to consider when you file your appeal or you go on a payment plan. Make sure that you know that they say you can pay as low as $10 a month. So that is something to keep in mind. But as I mentioned, the Social Security Administration is saying they're doing a broad review of overpayment practices. So we have to wait and see what comes out of that broad review. But in the interim, you still owe the money. So it's important to file an appeal, and hopefully that is approved. If it's not, you can file a waiver. You can file a waiver at any time. And if that is also not approved, then you can file for a hearing before a judge. So remember, this is a very stressful situation. So do not ignore it. Just make sure that you understand the requirements, you understand your rights, and that you are filing proper appeals, waivers, or hearings using the right information and the right help so that you give yourself a better chance of fighting this. So if you have any questions about Social Security payments, appeals, overpayments, ask us in the comment section below. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing, because all we do is bring you the latest information, news, and updates that may impact your benefit in a positive or negative way. So until we see you in the next video, thank you for watching.